If you're curious to hear about my current top 10 palettes, top 10 favorite palettes, then stick around. Hi there, it's Hélène with an updated top 10 favorite palettes. I find that over time, as I use different palettes with different challenges, different projects, that I develop new or different appreciations for the various palettes in my collection. And I wanted to introduce or reintroduce palettes that I really enjoy, and that is palettes that come as a set palette or a palette that is a set of singles. I think that both should qualify because they are an ensemble of shadows that we can all put together for ourselves, either pre-made or on our own. And the basis for my top 10 was how sad I would be if they were not in my collection, and how excited I am to use and or look at the various palettes. So these are the palettes that made the cut when I used those criterion. So super excited to use and or super excited to have in my collection, because I find them they help with my creativity. They make me really excited. Now, it was very hard to narrow it down to 10. And there were a lot of them that were a tug of war with other products. So, and you'll find that there is a very wide variety of brands in this top 10. So yeah, anyway, I think I've talked enough about it. Let's go right from 10 to most recent. Coming in at number 10, so I'm going to go 10 all the way to my favorite, my absolute favorite. Coming in at number 10 is the gold chocolate bar from Too Faced, and this is what it looks like. And you will notice, probably if you look at the pans, I haven't used it yet. It came as highly recommended by Jen Love's Reviews. It smells divine as usual. But what I absolutely love about this palette is the inspiration that it gives me. And I want to do a full swatches video for you, and obviously first impressions and so on. But when I look at the shadows, I automatically think of combinations and how I'm going to use the shadows, and that to me is the definition of a good palette. So even though I haven't used it, it is in my top 10. And so I'm not evaluating quality, right? The whole point of the top 10 was they excite me or they make me want to use my collection in certain ways. I'm very excited by this palette, and so that is why it made the top 10. So I'm repeating myself, but it may rank higher next time around, but it could not make it higher because of the fact, again, that I haven't used it yet. But it's extremely exciting to me that it is in my collection. The next palette that is in my collection, this one is at number 9, and it is a recent addition and one that I have used in the palette roulette fifth round, round 5, the latest round that I did just before this one. And this is what it looks like. And it is at number 9 because I think that this is the absolute best palette-based lime green that I have. And I was impressed by this palette because I did not think that I would like all the colors. They're all really good, and they're all extremely buildable. Even turquoise, which I'm not a big fan of, I did a great look with these two, and I did not think it would turn out as well as it did. There is not a single dud in here, and for anyone who is nervous about color, each one of these mattes is extremely buildable. Extremely buildable. It would be really hard to make a mistake, I think, with in using this palette for a look. It's very forgiving, and I think it's a great 9-pan palette if you're trying to get into color, for 2 reasons. There isn't an overwhelming number of shadows in here. They all work beautifully, and the color payoff is there as you build, but it's not so much color saturation as to make someone want to run who is just trying to use color. The quality of these shadows, I had heard about the quality of Juvia's Place. I experienced it myself with one palette called the Masquerade palette, and since then I have been sold. I really, really love this brand. So good. Next up at number 8 is the Violet Voss Like a Boss palette, and it looks like this. And I did do a brand new focus on Violet Voss. I will leave it right up here. But I just wanted to mention that there are a lot of neutrals in this palette. But when I think of this palette, I think of this row, this row right in the middle, and these guys right here. It's about half the palette that gets me excited because the colors in here are really, really great. That's the gold in the middle, and the gold, that Girl Crush and Royal, that gold Girl Crush and Royal, so this combination, I did a fantastic look with those 2 colors, and it turned out so, so well. Actually, every single look that I did with this palette ended up looking very, very nice. And it's a palette that I was hoping to have in my collection for a really, well, a considerable amount of time, and it ended up coming on sale at Sephora, and I am so, so, so happy that I nabbed it because it is a really good palette. And the only thing I'd like more from Violet Voss is there is a more purple tone palette that I think would be a very good complement to Like a Boss, and I would really enjoy adding that one to this palette. I think it's the hashtag palette, but I'm not sure. It's the one that has a lot of purples in it. I think that they would be great sister palettes for each other. But if that middle row and then the bottom of extra shimmers speaks to you, I definitely recommend that palette. The next palette that I have as a recommendation, or in my top 10, and this one ends up at number 7, is the Electric palette by Urban Decay. And all of these shadows just inspire me. Thrash, as I've talked about before, is my absolute favorite, but the blues, the purples, I am super excited about this palette every time I look at it. And it makes my heart sing, even though I don't use it really. It's one of those palettes that I have in my collection more for inspiration than to use, and that may seem strange for people, and I will end up over time using it more. And I have used Thrash and Jilted, and I have Chaos on the lower lash line. Yes, so nice. I can't explain it. They're weird, interesting colors, and I absolutely love having it to look at, to play with, even if it doesn't end up on my eyes, which I know it may sound really weird, but it is, from a creativity perspective, I find it very inspiring. So that's why it ended up being at number 7. At number 6 is one that a lot of people love to hate, and it is Subculture. I really, really enjoy Subculture. I don't use it as much as I should. I love creating grungy looks, and if you notice my use of the NYX Grind palette during round 6 of the palette roulette or palette collection roulette that I do on this channel, you will see that a lot of these colors I ended up using in the looks. These types of colors. There are some Subculture dupes in the grind palette. If you haven't seen that video, I'll put it right here. I really, really like these colors. If I were to say my favorites, I really enjoy Roxy, Electric, Axis, this one, All Star, I think, yeah, and Fudge is great. It's hard to pick, it's hard to pick. Rowdy is a very nice outer lid and crease color. Yeah, Adorn is fantastic. I like the whole palette. There's not, I don't think there's a dud in here. I like all of them. Yeah, I like all of them. And you can easily switch one look to another in the same day with Subculture. I'm a big fan of that. I don't know how many cards I have, but I'll at least put the thumbnail of the video where I did 2 looks in 10 minutes with Subculture. I find it an easy palette to use. Maybe I'm just weird. Next up, we were talking about the electric palette in number 7, but now I have number 5, and number 5 is a palette that I always make sure that I can see when it's stacked up behind here because of how unique it is, and it's the Heavy Metals palette by Urban Decay. Everything inspires me in this palette. The packaging, I think, is absolutely the bomb, and it's always tough to show on camera, unfortunately, but it has 20 shadows on either side, and the metallic nature of each one of these colors is what I find so interesting. And so here's Twisted. It has a very, very good color payoff, and it's a great way to think of a color scheme or to go in here and pick a color from this palette to finish a look. I think especially these colors down here, they really, really just pique my interest, make me think of color combinations, and you'll see a bit of a theme here where, I don't want to blind here, but these two really make me think of the green and the gold in the Violet Voss, like a Voss palette. But yeah, there's nothing really in the way this palette is designed. The colors they chose to include, the 20 colors, which is a lot, they chose to include in this palette, it just makes me really, really happy to play with, to just see this ripple effect here, the scrunching effect here on this palette. Everything about this palette makes me happy to have in my collection, to use, to play with, or just to look at. In 4th place, I have the Enchanted Secrets from Linda Hallberg. She is a Swedish makeup artist, and she has some fantastic shadows. Now, I wanted the Metallic Mysteries 2. That is the palette that I wanted from this brand, but this was also on sale, and so I decided to pick this up, and I'll just swatch Ethereal for you, which is my favorite out of this whole palette. They are iridescent duochrome shadows. I don't know if it's going to show up that much on camera. They are absolutely fantastic on the eye. They're beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I'll put the Linda Hallberg How Was It video right here for you, assuming I have cards left. If not, everything is going to be in the description box below. I really, really love these, and although the design, I've been using it, so the design is off on most of these, but it comes with an imprint design on these beautiful, beautiful shadows that is, it fits the name, Enchanted Secrets. This truly is an enchanted quad. It's gorgeous. And unfortunately, Linda Hallberg products tend to be limited edition, so I don't know if that's still available, but anything that is metallic or kind of special effect type duochromy stuff like the Enchanted Secrets, when she releases those, I would recommend, and I would probably personally be interested in anything else like that. Her mattes, neutrals, colors, meh. Not so crazy about them, but those specialty shadows, really, really nice. Coming in at number 3 is this palette. It is the Colored Raine Queen of Hearts palette. It is beautiful. The sleeve is to die for. And the palette itself, as I lose the plastic, the palette itself, which comes with a mirror, is super. Every single one of these can be used in combination with the others. There really are no bad combinations. And so to me, this is a colorful palette that is fantastic for just about anyone. As long as you're okay with mostly, there's some coolish colors, but I would say it's mostly warm, but still, it's a mix. I think anybody could really get away with using it. And there's a good mix of mattes and shimmers, and if there's something that Colored Raine does really well, and I'll stop swatching golds, that seems to be all I'm swatching. Let me swatch Noble Woman instead. They are super, super creamy and very, very easy to use on the eye. Every single look I did, I thought, wow, this is fantastic. And it really made me want to try more from Colored Raine. I mean, can you get over this red? Jeez. It's so, so nice. Again, that was Noble Woman. They're all just beautiful shadows. And again, the combinations that you can make, there's no way that you can go into this palette and not come out with a good look. It's just going to happen, which to me is the sign of a really good palette. And as I went to retrieve that plastic that fell out of the palette to go and clean it up and all that good stuff, I ended up getting that big red shadow all over my black pants. And I'm very happy I'm wearing black pants today, because if I were wearing white, I'd be in a slight panic, I think, at this point. All right, just a couple more to go. Now, this one is my second last one. And if I could only bring one palette, only one, on a trip, let's say I was gone for a month, which one would I pick? And hands down, it is this one. Now I realize it is not available anymore, but if you want to try Ciate shadows, I definitely suggest the Glitter Storm, which is right now in the sales section at Sephora. I think that's 9 shadows that really give you a sense of what the Ciate shadows are like without breaking the bank. I do have some cautions on the palette itself, though. The inside sometimes is flimsy and doesn't work very well, but the outside packaging of the Glitter Storm is really, really good. So here is the palette. It does come with a mirror, and it has 20 shadows. And for a 20 shadow palette, I will say that every single color works with every single other color in this palette. And that, for 20 shadows, is harder to achieve. I like them all. I like them all. Of course, I have my favorites. The Chartreuse on this side is absolutely beautiful. I really enjoy this pink and red. The Marron is very nice, and Violet, which is not really violet, I talked about that red already. These two, beautiful, beautiful shadows. The gold is very nice. Halo is super pretty on the inner lid. Every single one of these is very, very usable. Every look I have done with this palette I have really enjoyed, and the variety is what would really make me, and it's actually pretty small. I would end up having no trouble with 20 shadows that are so different, using it as my single palette for a while. And last, but definitely not least, because it is in my #1 spot, is a collection of singles from Cleona Cosmetics. And it is in this beautiful, beautiful palette. And let me show you the inside. This is a set of 36 shadows from Cleona, the majority of which came from a mystery set of mystery bags. I got 4 mystery bags from them. And this only solidified my love of Cleona Cosmetics shadows because I didn't even pick them. And I love them. They are absolutely beautiful. Here's what I'm shocked by. Especially, I mean, the mattes are extremely blendable. They're beautiful. But when I think about Cleona, I don't think about the mattes specifically. I think about the quality of the shimmers and metallics that they are able to produce. They are so good. I mean, and the problem I have is that I want to show over and over and over on camera various shadows, and Cleona is definitely in this grouping. But every time I do a video, I think it's not coming through. For example, the Moon Dust shadows and liquids from Urban Decay, I don't find that they come through that much on camera. This shimmer veil right now in Amethyst from Cover FX that I'm wearing, I don't feel like it really comes through on camera just how gorgeous it is. The same goes for these, and I don't know how to remedy that. I don't know if I just have a crappy camera or bad lighting or whatever, but in person, these are I'm going to use the word unparalleled. They consistently look so good on the eye, and colors that I don't particularly like I'm not big on blues. Well, I did a look with 2 of these blues from this area, and I got compliments on the look that it was simpler, less tedious to do than other ones that I've had compliments on. If anything, my complaint would be it's too easy to do a look. There's no challenge in doing a look. But how can that possibly be a complaint, right? Having just a couple of shadows on your lid and you're done, how is that a bad thing? And colors, like I said, the blues, not something I would normally use. A lavender color. I swatched it and I said, oh, that's going to be on my lid sooner than later. How does that work? We tend to have colors that work for us and that don't work for us. And I think that this brand, now that I have, I think around 50 pans of their stuff, maybe even up to 60. Yeah, probably closer to 60. I can say there are no duds. There is 0 duds. They're all beautiful. And I haven't had that experience with any other brand where every single one that I've used, I've kind of gone, oh, that's really good. Oh, that's really good. Or had as many compliments in real life and on video as any other brand. So there's a reason why I ended up picking mystery bags from this company. There are very few companies where I would venture out to let them curate selections for me. But I think that when it comes to this brand, I don't feel like there's any risk. At least for me, for what I look for from an eyeshadow, there is no risk in just kind of going, yeah, whatever, and getting whatever strikes their fancy to send me. And that's why they got the #1 spot. I don't know what else to say. And yes, they are singles, but they're singles from that given company. And whether you were to pick the Witchcraft and Alchemy, whether you were to pick the 66.5 degree north, whether you were to pick Paleo Archeo, the Ultrametals, the if any of their collections, the quality is there, and the shadows just work no matter what colors you pick. I mean, I think that that's what the wow is for me. And at the beginning, I would look at some of the colors when I first started using Cleon. I thought, oh, you know, yeah, okay, it's all right, whatever. Like, for example, from the Harvest Moon collection, when I bought the whole collection, it was, well, there are some that I won't really like in there. Not really. They're all really great, and some of them really surprised me. Like Honeycrisp is one of my favorites from that collection. Although there, like I said before, there are no duds. They're all beautiful. So, and I am very happy to discover other indie brands where I feel the same way. It just, and maybe this is just my appeal to everyone to not overlook indie brands, because there's a reason it made #1 on the list, and yeah, I stand by it, and I think it's going to take a heck of a lot to dethrone this one. Like I said, it's 10. If I had, it was really hard to come up with the 10. They're all very, very solid selections. And again, the driver was what palettes make me, inspire me, make me excited to play with makeup. And that was what I used to select my top 10. It wasn't, although there are very good examples of the highest quality in these 10, that was not the driver. It was the excitement and the palettes that I want to go to either look at, play with, put on my eyes. All three, they are palettes that I would be very, very sad to see leave my collection. So there you go. Long video. I hope you got a sense of my whys for each one of the selections. You know some of my collection. You can see quite a few of them back here. Do you have different favorites, either that you see here or that you have in your own collection? I would love to hear what they are. Let me know in the comments. If you think that any of my top 10 are absolute duds, let me know about that as well. I love to hear what everybody thinks. I thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it every single time. And I do look forward to seeing you in the next video. But for now, take care.